He was a morbidly obese surgeon destined for an operating table and an early death. Now he's a rebel MD who is fabulously fit and fighting to make America healthy again. This is Stay Off My Operating Table with Dr. Philip Ovadia.
Welcome back. Oh, gosh, you know what? Here we are. I'm recording, and I failed to ask my guest how she pronounces her last name. I'm just going to have to guess at it, and if I got it wrong, Phil, you will have to correct me.
Definitely
As I was
will.
trying to say, folks, this is the Stay Off My Operating Table podcast. I'm the idiot who allegedly knows how to run these things, and Dr. Ovadia takes care of all the really important things. So if you're looking for a different podcast, it's probably my fault that you're here. If you're looking for Stay Off My Operating Table, you're in the right place. Phil, please extract me from this mess that I have made of the whole thing.
Sounds good, and I'll save you by pronouncing the name correctly. But really, this is going to be a fun one. Excited for our guest today, Loral Langemeier. Loral is, and, I'll have to apologize because I lost count. I forget if it's a 5 or 6 time. Yep, we're up to 6, right? We got one for the other hand. A New York Times bestseller, really a legend in the personal financial space. And people might be thinking, okay, that's great, but why is she on this podcast? And we'll get into that. She's on this podcast because I've been honored to know Loral, work with Loral over the past few years. She's been actually a big force in helping me to build my business and to kind of build my financial life. But along the way, we've kind of figured out that, wealth without health is really not all that worth having. And Loral has become a big proponent of talking about how health and wealth really should go together. And that's what we're excited to talk about today. So, Loral, why don't you start by giving your background to our audience and maybe talk about some of the interesting tidbits in your life that actually, overlap health and wealth.
Absolutely. I have a few tidbits. I think I have a new one that you probably aren't aware of. I'll come to that comment like that. That'll be the summary. So I grew up in a farm in Nebraska, very athletic family, very sports oriented family. So sports and music were required. They weren't really an option. You will play sports and you will play an instrument. So that's my life, which I'm very thankful for, even though I resisted, playing the piano. I played the French horn for 14 years. These are all the fun facts nobody knows about. Played the drums, played the trombone. Because when you grow up in a little tiny farm family, you have to do everything. Otherwise, there's not enough people in band. There's not enough people in every sport. So everybody has to do everything. I was in theater, I was in choir, you name it, or you couldn't play. So I think why I'm such a multitasker, Dr. Phil, because I just have this eclectic background. Fast forward, though, I went to school, played basketball at university, and the seminar before had Dennis Waitley, like a motivational performance speaker. And, he did one of those, who wants to run to the front of the stage? And he was holding a book called Think and Grow Rich. So at 17, when my life was changed, because I was a voracious reader, the internet wasn't around in 1983 when I graduated high school. So I would be reading at this huge library. And when I read Think and Grow Rich, you have to imagine a farm girl from Nebraska or anybody that grew up in that, kind of environment. Most people didn't grow up with money. And it's, oh my gosh, there's a whole world that I didn't even know existed, personal development, all of this. So I just immersed myself in it. Years later, met Bob Proctor. I did go get a finance bachelor's degree, and then I worked in a bank for literally not even a day. I'm like, this isn't going to work for me. I'm not going to sit around and count people's money and do spreadsheets. This is not going to work. So I quit and I rolled back into master's program in exercise physiology, back to my love of fitness. So I had a personal training business, aerobics instruction. I started building corporate fitness centers for Cushman, Kawasaki, I guess, better word to say that. The UP Railroad, Union Pacific Railroad. What else did I do? I did a lot of blue collar environments just because I could get along with them. I had brothers, growing up on a farm, I could hang with them. Anyway, fast forward at 24, I was the opportunity. I saw this little ad in one of the fitness journals to go apply for a job with Chevron. And it really wasn't a job. It was a contract to build 272 fitness centers on the offshore oil rigs. So with my finance background, the reason I got the contract over way more experienced people is because I could do analytics of the healthcare cost of people with bad backs, smokers. So I did this whole list to get the contract of if we put in all these, smoking cessation, weight loss, if we get the lard off the ships and we put, different kinds of oil on the ships, and we did a whole program. So I got the contract really, I think, by my analytics. That's kind of what I say. So I moved to New Orleans, spent 3 years building fitness centers, and then ended up in corporate in San Francisco. So traveled all over the world building fitness centers in Papua New Guinea, Kazakhstan, sexy places of the world. Horrible.
Yeah, Kazakhstan. Yeah.
I know, right? Their problem was drinking too much vodka. And so I was sent over to get them off vodka when that's what they drink like water all day. And this is not me anymore. So Bob was already mentoring Bob Proctor. This is probably a funny part of the story. I don't talk about this because it's just such a different chapter. But I told Bob, I said, I have to get out of this. This is not me. Because by then I had to be a corporate employee. And I'm just like, I was a bit written up for insubordination because I'm too mad.
This is for Chevron?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
This is fun.
I know.
Folks, by the way, if you thought gigantic corporations were stupid, here's an example.
So one of the days, actually, Jack, you'll love this. So one of the days I was known as the bitch fitness girl from Nebraska, and I should be fired because I took barges and I stopped at every rig and I picked up these massive vats of lard that they were cooking all their fried food in. And the Cajuns went crazy. I mean, I got shit thrown at me. I was like tried to get pushed into the water. I was like the worst human. Like I took away their lard and I replaced it with healthy oils and healthy food, salads. Oh my gosh, they saw greens for the first time that didn't come out of a can. Oh, I was the humor like that whole job. I think I got PTSD from it. It was one of those moments though. I'm glad I did it. It was a great benchmark. But if I really knew what I was getting myself into, I don't know if that I would have done it because it was pretty rough. It was a pretty rough few years, but it was fun. Fast forward, Bob Proctor called me one day. I was at Chevron and he said, I have some people for you to meet. Go down to Phoenix tomorrow and meet this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lechter, and you'll meet at her kitchen table and cut a deal with him. I said, what am I cutting a deal with? And he said, they're going to focus on the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. This is 1996. He said, go get the game. I said, what do you mean go get the game? He said, they have a cash flow game, but they don't know how to move or sell it. And they need somebody to lead it. I'm like, all right, I'll get on a plane. So that's how I became the cash flow distributor for Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lechter, the whole Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I literally went home and I quit Chevron just like that. Everybody freaked out. They said, you're going to follow a Japanese guy in a game around? Are you insane? You've lost your mind. I said, oh no, I am gaining my mind back and I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. I really didn't know what that all meant, but I spent 5 years figuring it out and sold their stuff until I developed my stuff. And what I saw in the gap was, Rich Dad Poor Dad's the big why. It was a great story. It's not true. It's a story. And the cash flow game leaves you thinking, I want this in my life, but I don't know how to. So I grabbed that little distinction and I said, I'm going to go write a book on how to become a millionaire. How do you do it? How do you glue this stuff together? And it comes down to teams. So I've had lots of chapters. My primary chapter was in the health and fitness world corporately, and a personal trainer. I mean, I made hundreds of thousands as a personal trainer and aerobics instructor. So anyway, fast forward, what's been fun now to culminate after 25 years of now making millionaires is Maha called. The head of Maha, Dell, as you know, Dell is the head of Maha. And I was head of Bobby's campaign was confirmed today, thank God. So Maha Worldwide is on the move. And I've been asked to play a very contributing role in that because of my business and finance backgrounds. I've connected him to CFOs and to the whole audit teams. And Maha is going to be a fun change to our food, to our life. I cannot wait till Fruit Loops is off the shelf. It's got 9 carcinogens. So it's sort of the last chapter of my life. I get to do health and wealth together. Also why I love, working with you and your work. Keeping people off the table, not on the table.
Yeah. And, what's been so interesting to me, right? And maybe we'll get into I'll in a minute give the background, how Loral and I met and started working together. But, as I've been, interacting and hearing and, all the stuff that Loral talks about around our financial life. And it's just struck me how many parallels there are to what we hear about our health. and how the narrative that, many of us have been raised on and kind of programmed in when it comes to what it takes to be successful financially is probably as broken as the narrative that we've been sold about what it takes to be healthy, in our health, the health aspects of our lives. Maybe talk a little bit about, how you view finances differently and how you instruct people on, taking a different approach to your financial life if you really want to get that success.
Perfect. Thank you. And I do. The way I describe it, I say, the financial system is archaic and it's segregated. So you have to be your advocate trying to say, all right, financial planner, I need you to talk to the insurance person. I need you to talk to my trust attorney. I need you to talk to the corporate people. I need you to talk to my credit, my funding. And nobody talks. So it's a segregated and nobody advocates for how do you get to be the coach, the quarterback of this team of financial experts. And it's same with, old stodgy hospitals and the old, health. So I say health and wealth, health and by finance really have very segregated systems. And what you need is advocates. I mean, when somebody gets sick, as you know, somebody's got to come in and advocate for the patient because you've got all these doctors giving different prescriptions and it's the sick care system. It's not the wellness system. And I always say, if you want to be healthy or wealthy, you have to live on the alternatives because the healthiest people that I know, and I do a lot of hyperbaric chamber, red light therapy, I do EE systems. I mean, I do almost all the alternatives to stay healthy. It's the same thing in finance. You have to find the alternatives, and that's where the wealthy live. And until you really understand that there's a whole vocabulary, a whole process. I mean, think of all of the different kinds of people and the experts that I've introduced you to that you would have never normally met them because they're alternative, which means they're smaller in scope. They don't have the budgets of big pharma has, to do, like, where do you ever see pharmas go after hyperbaric chambers and red light or any sort of health modality, cryo units, anything. They don't do any of that. And it's not insurance based. So if you don't have insurance and pharma funding, same with finance. If you don't have Fidelity, Schwab, and the big boys off Wall Street funding, you got to find your way to these private alternatives. And that's probably the best, like how I see health and finance is they are the healthiest and wealthiest live in alternatives, and they are more difficult to find. You've got to be more committed to want it, and you have to be in what I call active engagement. It's just not going to be done to you. I think the financial world has a park and pray method. Just park your money with the financial institute, pray to God something happens, and magically you might have money when you're older. And that's such BS. It does not work. It is proven it doesn't work. And time again, when we have economic hits like 2008, 9, and 10, hello, people, wake up. I mean, could COVID have been a big enough slap in everyone's face that being an entrepreneur is where the money is, people? So you can keep your job, but half of the planet lost their job. There was over 12 million people unemployed like that. But that's security. I mean, the false narrative is just, you can tell how passionate I get about it. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I love it.
Because it's just disgusting. And people have got to wake up and actually care about your own health and your own wealth. And you got to take control of it. And you can take control of your money. You're just not taught about it. And, I think people lean into the alternatives and understanding health more openly than the alternatives when it comes to wealth because they're scared. So what I hear over and over, this seems really risky, right? I mean, some of the stuff we invest in, we do gas and oil, we do cannabis, we do real estate. We do all sorts of alternatives and in investing. And most people say, oh, those are all really risky. They're risky if you don't know what you're doing. But if you actually start learning what you're doing, like I love flipping little companies, little meaning under 5 million. I think they're fun to buy, tidy them up. Marketing, is I kind of, becoming your and my ultimate wheelhouse by having our own podcast and doing our marketing. But, it's so imperative that people take control of their finances and you have to learn. And so when people say, I have a mindset issue with money, I said, no, you have a lack of knowledge about money. So how about you lean in and read some books and start studying? You follow my YouTube channel, study how people really wealthy live because it's not what we've been taught at all.
Yeah, and
I don't know the questions asked, Phil.
I know. Yeah. I knew you'd have a bunch of questions, Jeff.
Just the message, right? The take charge of your wealth, right? As much as similar to what we talk about taking charge of your health. Maybe talk about some of the things that you've seen with how people get, success around their wealth and it gets ruined or derailed when they run into health problems.
Oh, absolutely. So first I'll do a little bit of just the definitive difference in the teaching. So what we're taught in money is that, go to school, get a good job, get good grades, blah, 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 blah. So I still believe in the work ethic of all of that. I have a master's degree. My son has a master's in accounting. My daughter's getting a master's in marketing. Like like school and learning is just a part of our family values, like I say it. But as you think about that path and just having a job, well, first of all, that's the worst kind of money because it's the most tax money is employment money. And then you typically are just introduced to a 401k, which who knows, some of them are good, some of them are horrible. You have to go on vacations and get term life insurance. And I can't leave my job because I need the benefits. Because what they don't understand is when you become an entrepreneur and you make enough money, you create your own benefit package, your own officer and director package. I mean, I have pristine health care. I mean, really low deductibles. I pay $115 a month for my daughter and I. I mean, and we're talking Anthem Blue Cross. How do you get there? Because of the way I structure my money gets me good health care. So I tie them very closely together. And how you really get wealthy is you have to be an entrepreneur. Now, you can still be employed. Like we have a ton of surgeons like you. I just got another anesthesiologist 2 days ago. But they have to have an entrepreneurial venture because without the corporate structure, the C Corps, the S Corps, LLCs, limited partnerships held in trust, you don't get to deductions. Like I, Loral Langemeier, personally have no phone. This phone is owned by one of the companies. I have another phone, it's owned by my other company. So my phones are owned by companies. My vehicle's owned by companies. My home owned by a company. I don't own anything. I make $42,000 and I'm a single mom. Because people don't realize it's not about you, the person. It's about the enterprise, the legacy you're building. The companies make money, not the person. So to get people to shift to that, I mean, this is my 25th year of the big table, my 30th year of teaching in the space of money. And it's fascinating. But to your other part of the question is, I'm going to tell you the top 3 takedowns of wealth. Most people would say it's divorce. It is absolutely not. That's the third. The second is an unplanned legacy where you just didn't plan anything and it all goes to probate and you lose half of it to the state. The number one takedown of wealth is your health. An unplanned health incident. I don't care if it's recently another kid up on the ski hill, because I live in Lake Tahoe area, ran into a tree, broke his neck, paralyzed. That's going to change. That is changing. Now, finally, the families reached out and said, we need help. Yeah, because now you have to fund a disabled child for the rest of his life and get so you can do disabled trust. There's all sorts of ways to help set up a life structure without going broke around these people. It's better to get in front of it. I tend to get the aftermath of a big health incident, a big cancer treatment, that took the families, half of their wealth away. They just didn't have the right insurance. They just weren't structured in a way financially to handle that kind of a hit. So the number one by far worldwide is an unplanned health incident, including deaths. But typically it's an unplanned health incident that continues on for years, decades, that just drains on the family's finances that they didn't plan for. And then they're so in panic and emotion, they still don't plan for it. So usually we get them 3 to 5 years into their problem. And it's fixable, but not as fixable as it could have been if we got out in front of it and just said, if this happens, what's your alternative? What are you going to do? And people just don't think about it.
Yeah, and maybe give your perspective. It's been said that in this country, one of the leading causes of bankruptcy is health bills, health problems. And this becomes another kind of, I guess you could say framework that you could look at, how health and wealth are so tightly intertwined.
Yeah. And one of the biggest alternative strategies, is using life insurance, true, like whole life universe, like using true policies where they have cash value and you can build into them some long-term, care solutions. You use insurance. And again, it's not the stuff you see on the news. It's not Progressive. It's not, Geico. Those are all for that's the $10 a month stuff. I'm talking real wealth. Like putting that so much away per month into a policy is a huge one of many vehicles. And some people don't like that. Some people want to go more the IRA route, or they want to go into their HSA and their own health savings account and then just self-insure around them. So there's a lot of alternative financial ways to be protective and offensive before that health incident happens. And people just don't know about it. They don't ask about it. They don't ever think like the other, a parallel to Jack Phil is people don't think, they can keep putting things off, and all of a sudden it's just going to be magically fine. They put off getting incorporated. They put off. I just met somebody the other day that came in and they haven't filed taxes in 7 years. And they don't have any but they're like, what's a P&L? I'm like, oh my gosh, we have so much work to do. So there's this put off, and you see it too. It's, yeah, I'll do a treatment when I have time. I'll do a treatment later. They put off health and wealth activities instead of putting them into your calendar. Like, they have to be rigorously committed to and disciplined. And just, the amount of discipline that it takes to live this life and get the result. A lot of people are just too lazy to do it. And I'm just going to say that. I just see, like, they want this little magic wand, and I'm going to tap them on the little head, and all of a sudden they're going to be a millionaire. And they're like, this is complicated. I said, no, it's just different. It's not difficult. It's different. Getting healthy is not difficult. It's different. And there's more of a commitment to it. And I just don't see discipline, persistence, just high performance expectations of what people want. They just put it off and put it off and put it off in both categories. It's unbelievable. And then they are just shocked and dismayed when it doesn't work. And it's not going to work because you didn't plan for it.
Oh, I've got a...
Jack's having fun, I can tell.
It reminded me of one of my business partners just did a video for our clients where he talks about the downside of working with us. And one of the things that we describe is, hey, this isn't fast. It's going to take a while. And what you're going to do is you're going to 6 weeks into it, you're going to go, this is so hard. And I'm spending so much money and I'm not, and they'll quit and they'll say, it doesn't work.
Yep. Oh, I love it.
He said, guess what? If you go to the gym every day and you do the workout every day in a year, you will see the difference. I don't go to the gym. I went 6 weeks. I'm still fat. Obviously, the gym doesn't work. That's.
It's got to be a core habit. I'm worked out my whole life. It is a priority. My family, I always say, before I start my day, God, my health, my family all come first. I get all that done, and then I come here and do this kind of work. And then some days I just don't do any of this. I go to my cannabis farm, or I go do real estate. It's a disciplined calendar, and it's shocking that people don't live by a calendar. They don't document what they eat. They just throw crap in their mouth. They drink whatever they want to drink. It's just the lack of any conscious awareness. When people say the same thing, Jack, with money, oh, it's just so difficult. Oh my gosh, I have to track everything. It's every day if you actually did track it, because there's all these auto pays, right? So people don't realize, especially if you're on a direct deposit. So now you're not even looking at the money. It's just going to your bank account. And then you set up all your payments to go out. It's just easy. But that's not getting you wealthy. You're just setting up an easy system of money in, money out, money in, money out. There's no conscious of, I need this money to go to a company, and then the company can pay for my phone. The company can pay for my home office. The company can pay all these bills. So just shifting even their spending behavior. How many times have we sat, Dr. Phil, and gone through what I call financial forecasting? How are you spending your money into the next year so you have the best tax return you possibly can create? And it's by design. I think health and wealth are both by design and by intention, not just by casual behavior. It's just not. It's just, I've been in both these worlds, and it doesn't just casually happen.
Yeah, the intentionality is, again, something that I've been able to kind of draw upon, learning from you in the financial space, and then applying that to, how people need to apply that same intentionality to their health. Like you said, all the information that we talk about, and, the different diet and lifestyle aspects of everything we talk about, it only works if you're going to do it, if you make it that habit, if, intentionally make it a part of your life. That's how you see the success. That's how you get the outcomes that you're looking for.
One of the examples I use, and I know you've heard it many times from me, but I don't think Jack or your audience has, is I use the gym as an example. I said, you can go to the gym once, but you're not going to get strong. Like, you have to have at least a minimum of a 12-week, 16, ideally longevity. Like, you're going on a consistent basis to strengthen your muscles. If you don't, you're going to atrophy. So same thing with, I call money muscles. That means every day you have to give, which is why I'd have a 5-day-a-week YouTube channel, because every day I want to put some, muscle on your money muscle, strengthen your understanding, because if you do nothing, you're just atrophying. So it's the same thing, but it's that commitment to, like you said, Jack, people they want, they want the little magic wand and they want the quick, shiny formula and they don't want to do the work. And you've seen every one of those programs. I could name 100 diet programs that I've heard about, or people sell through direct sales companies. You see that too. We'll see people at the big table. We saw that last, October and last April. Some people come in, they've lost 50 pounds, 40 pounds. And it's like magical. What'd you do? Oh, I did this diet. And so you ate that cardboard for like months and months. The minute they go back to eating real food, because the behavior changed, they've gained, between April and October, I saw somebody lose 50 and back in October had gained it back. It's just that roller coaster, and they don't realize what that does to their organs, how unhealthy that is. And the same thing with money. Why are people wealthy? Not wealthy, not because they love their lifestyle. And instead of buying assets, I have some pro football players right now, some NFL players. And I said, they're like, some of the guys that just won, right? They want the rings, they want more jewelry. And I said, it's an apartment. You're going to buy an apartment. You're going to get some gas and oil. You're going to buy real assets that are actually going to create wealth for you later in life, because you're injured as an NFL player or any kind of professional athlete, you're done. The game's over. There's no more money coming. And it's fascinating to get that lifestyle behavior out of their head and getting assets. I say assets first, then lifestyle. Because people say, you have a great lifestyle. And I said, I built a huge asset base first. And then I built it to lifestyle. But you kind of get addicted to assets. Like I'm an asset addict. If I had to say, I'm a total asset addict. Like I don't want a big lifestyle. I mean, my next big purchase, which seems lifestyle-ish, would be a plane again. But it's not. It's where I can fly around faster to my projects. So it's still dealing with business. It's not because I'm going to, fly somewhere just to go play. I go fly somewhere. I might play while I'm there, but I go to work because I love it.
You may see my manager on my lap here.
Oh, that's funny, your manager. At least we know who's in charge, Jack.
And he's decided that now is the time to, good Lord. This is fascinating to me because I'm one of those people who, yep, there it is. I told you.
I love it. You're confessing.
I'm one of those people who has been a financial ignoramus my entire life.
Most people are. Don't worry.
And I have, for as long as I can remember, I've been very conscious about health, about that has been an extremely high priority for me. And what I'm hearing is the mindset that I bring to living a healthy lifestyle, which involves what I eat or don't eat, what I drink or don't drink, what I exercise or don't exercise, what I do with all of that.
Yep.
The exact same mindset I can transfer to
your health.
Body. And
Great.
honestly,
Yep.
This is like brand new to me. I don't have to just out earn the Grim Reaper.
There's a whole strategy. Like why we're winning so much right now is I have ads running right now that say you design how much taxes you want to pay. And if you just have a basic CPA, I call them historians. All they're going to do is record. That's why, Phil, when I met you, I think you had a historian as a CPA. They just record your history. They don't say, okay, let's look into 25. How much are you going to make? What do you want to invest? Like how much more new income and new assets do you want to buy? That's how we lead that conversation. Now let's design a really low tax basis legally based on all the goals you have. So it's a forecast forward instead of just saying, oh, that's what you did. This is what you have to pay. No, that totally can be controlled and organized. Just like if you want a different blood result, I mean, Phil, like I lost my spleen. So I have to be very mindful about, my health without a spleen. And then, I have doctors that say I'll be on medicine the rest of my life. And I'm like, yeah, watch this. I'm down to 1 after 4 years of losing my spleen. And I just won't. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it their way. I'm finding every alternative to be healthy. So it's that same, nobody's going to advocate for me. I know how I want to feel. I don't want to feel like crap. And I'll tell you, if I don't do certain things, it's rough without a spleen because I don't have an immune system. So I share that pretty openly because I don't think people realize that you have it all easy. No, I've had some near-death experiences. I mean, you got to be so mindful about both of these categories. And I don't think you can have one without the other. I think they're so intertwined and they go together. Because honestly, people that are super wealthy, if you really look at their history, they have some kind of a sport or addiction to working out. Like they just do. I mean, I'm dear friends with John Asraf. He is 63 and you would never know. And he said, I interviewed him the other day and he said, I got an 8-pack. He said, by the time I'm 65, I'm going to have a 12. We're just conscious about setting high bars for our own life, our own performance. I'm not competing against anybody. I'm competing against myself. How do I have a better me? And how do I create a better life for me and my kids?
Normally, my role here is to be the ears of the average listener and question our guests to articulate the questions that I perceive the average listener is asking. Today, I'm asking these for me.
You're like, today is a selfish day. It's all about me.
How do I start?
You're gonna
I'm dumb. I do not.
You're gonna read this book. You can read.
I can read Millionaire, but I can't read what else it says. Millionaire Maker. Loral Langemeier, Millionaire Maker.
That's my YouTube channel. And in your show notes, I'll have Steve, who's behind the camera on my side, make sure that we give that away to all your guests for free on the ebook copy. So that way everybody can start and everybody can read that. So start with that as a big gift.
Awesome.
And then start listening.
I don't think people will turn that down.
No, and they definitely shouldn't. It's a great place to start. And then you can get through books 2 through 6 from there as well. Maybe let's, one of the things we oftentimes talk about are the myths around health, right? And we talk about the cholesterol myth and the low fat diet myth and some of the others. So what are maybe a couple of key myths around wealth that we can dispel for our audience today?
Love that question. I love that question. I've never asked that question. Number one, debt is a cost of money. It actually can be used as a huge benefit. You do not have to be debt free. The wealthiest people in the world carry debt, right? I mean, I carry a lot of debt. So here's an example. If I could show you how to get $100,000 of 0% money, that's free, zero, right? For 21 months is how long those can last. So if you actually behave properly, it can last longer. But first, we got to get through the first 21, because what happens when I help people get funding? What do? Lifestyle. I need a TV. You're going to invest all 100 into, say, like iFlip, Phil, right? It's like something like that. So it's average S&P, so 15%. So is it okay to be $100,000 in debt? You owe it back, but it's 0%, doesn't cost you anything. You can invest it at 15%. You printed $15,000 that year, and all you did is go into debt very strategically and smartly. It's called arbitraging debt. So when people say, I have to get out of debt to work with you. Oh, no, we'll get you out of your lifestyle junk debt. But then you're going to use debt to build more wealth, because you can use debt that's really cheap. That's just the cost of money. But you have to be so disciplined to do that, because lifestyle and, your immediate gratification gets in the way of a strategic plan like that. So then people get in a lot of trouble in those moods or those spaces. So I would say debt is the number one I dispel. Number two is the use of credit cards. Put your debit cards away. Here's a debit card that comes right out of your bank. So it's immediately it has to come out of your bank. So you're done. If there's any dispute, the bank will not dispute you. So put your debit cards away. Use a credit card. You have 30 days of somebody else's money. A bank, I don't care if it's American Express, Discover, you have 30 days. And if anything happens, they dispute it and you get all your money back. So you're using someone else's money on a credit card for 30 days. Pay it off every month. That is the rigor. Again, there's a lot of discipline into what I'm saying. There's discipline into what you guys teach. I mean, we're very aligned, and you've got to have rules. I say you got to have home rules. You have to have debt rules. You got to have credit card rules, and you have to abide by them. And like my kids, I raise my kids really strictly. I mean, they get credit cards young because I want them to learn to use them. But the minute they don't do it, it's all taken away. And then they live with nothing for 60 or 90 days. And that's painful. The other part is just talking about money. Money's not a dirty word. You have to talk about money at your family table. If you don't instill this, the schools, it's not their job. It drives me crazy when people say the schools should teach it. No, they shouldn't. They're not millionaires. They're not multimillionaires. They have no clue about what we're talking about, right? So this is your school. So family, I think, is the parents' responsibility. And I can tell you, in writing my 6th book, a couple of years ago, to make your kids millionaires, because my kids were millionaires on paper through insurance, through trust, through real estate, through a variety of vehicles by the time they were 10. And they got an LLC for their birthday at 18 years old. Welcome. I mean, that's how serious I take. 18 years old. Here's your corporate binder. Welcome to adulting. So I'm aggressive about it because I'm leading the conversation, but I think that so many parents just abdicate TikTok to being their financial educator of their children. It's horrible. The other one I want to dispel is taxes, or like I said it earlier, you can design your tax structure. I mean, yeah, there is a tax code, but we have 81,000 pages of code for deductions. So why are you paying for your phone when you can have a company pay for it? Why are you paying for a vehicle? Why are you paying? Like I have a wardrobe allowance because I wear a lot of bling. So I have a jewelry allowance. I have to go shopping. So I tuck my lifestyle design.
My wife is going to love this.
So I tuck some of those inside of it, right? Same with my sports, my skiing. Like I love skiing. I mean, just recently I had, clients out and I said, you want to go ski for the afternoon? So guess what? Got to write it all off. So there's just so many ways to tuck in the things you're spending, but they're a deduction to a company. They're an expense to you. So living this corporate life is just pivotal. And I think people they just don't know about it. And they think it's so complicated because who makes it complicated? Every ad on TV makes it complicated. And for you guys on the health side, every pharma ad and every Ozempic ad and all those ads make it like, what's this one I'm seeing all over? Sonobellum. Oh, you're going to go in for one treatment and all of a sudden all of that body fat's just going to go away. That's got to be a fascinating treatment. I'd love to see what that is. It's just, there's so many like Band-Aids. Everybody wants Band-Aids and duct tape in their health, and they want Band-Aids and duct tape in their wealth, and they don't get serious about, I'm going to own this plan. Because ultimately, you have a legacy plan. You're either going to design it and own it and you have family wealth for generations, or you're going to die and the state's going to take 30 to 50% depending on your state you live in. And that's your plan because you didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, you have a plan.
You have a plan.
You either have the default, which is whatever the heck happens, or you're aggressive, assertive, and disciplined about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even really about being aggressive. It's about being knowledgeable and making really smart decisions. So part of that, I think, in both of our industries is surrounding yourself with those people. Like the other piece of my success has been, I have been mentored and coached and a constant learner in all these areas. I'm constantly learning and engaging and, finding new things that are going to help people make it easier. And at the end of the day, it's still discipline, persistence, commitment to make it happen.
Yeah. And, what you just said about, you have a plan either way. And again, such a parallel in health because, you'll get the default plan when it comes to health. And that default plan looks like, you're going to be on multiple medications by the time you're 40, and you're going to spend the last, third of your life basically sick and dependent on others to take care of you. And that's the plan that everyone's on unless you make that intentional choice to figure out a different plan for yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, like surrounding yourself with the people that want to be healthy, that want, that similar life. And, again, I go back to parenting. This book taught me a lot because it was surprising how many parents talked about wanting their kids to understand money, but the parent won't spend 1 minute of time talking about money with their kids. It's interesting. Your kids are total mirrors of you. Like they are going to copy you. They're going to follow you. They are super intuitive and smart. And if you say you're healthy, but they never see you go to the gym, they never see you work out. They don't see you, like my kids know. They're like, they know that is like my mom time and it's not going to be interrupted. And now as they got older, now we will go together, and my daughter and I put a gym in our garage, and, we put a TRX unit, we put all that. I still can't get her to go to hot yoga with me, but she just doesn't like the 104 degrees. She's like, too much. I'll go strength train. You go to hot yoga. We'll meet up afterwards. But still, at least there's a pattern. I'll never have to worry about my kids working out the rest of their life because that's how I raised them. And I don't have to worry about them really around money because that's how I raised them. So I got to put a big plug in for the parents. Get involved. You have to become aligned and really bring these kids along. And, the parents that abdicate responsibility to TikTok and the internet, God help you. I don't know what you're raising.
I was one of those kids who my parents were, easiest way to say this, I came in at the very end of the baby boom. And back in those days, the path to a successful life was go to college, get a degree, get a job in a corporation, work for 40 years, get a pension, blah, blah, blah. And I knew very early I wasn't wired for that kind of thing, but my dad was.
Yeah.
And he had nothing to give me. He had no idea how to do anything other than just get a nice paycheck from IBM for 40 years. It's not just the young people who have suffered from this. I'm one of those.
Yep.
I have no question here other than I'm going to start reading your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it brings up the generational, again, aspects of all of this. And a lot of what, again, we see, has gone so wrong with our health is just that our parents got convinced of a certain way that about health and, the food pyramid and all of that. And they just parroted it and mirrored it and passed it along. And unfortunately, I think by the time that, they realized that maybe it wasn't helping their health and, it was kind of too late. The kids had already learned, and now we're in sort of the third generation. But thankfully, I think we're starting to turn the ship around. People are starting to see the cracks in it. And again, so many parallels with what's going on in our wealth creation system, right? Because it's clear now that path that your dad took, it doesn't end well because the pensions all of a sudden went away. And the companies, say, oh, you worked for us for 40 years and here now you have nothing. And sorry about that, but not our problem, type thing. Again, we see all these parallels that you got to start making those intentional choices to take a different path when it comes to this stuff.
And the other, it's interesting when you said that about your parents, because, growing up on a farm, it's 3 squares, right? And it's talking big, like big breakfast, big lunch, big dinners, and you eat everything on your plate or you don't leave the table. And so I remember sleeping at the table. I literally remember, especially when there was liver day, like there's no way I'm putting liver in my mouth. This is not going to happen, Mom. I'm going to sleep on the top, sleep on this chair. I'm going to sleep on the table. I'll sleep on the floor.
Wait. Liver day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh. Bless your heart.
Like I remember sleeping at the table. My mom they think and I said, and then I remember like at 7 years old, I'm like, what if I'm just not hungry? Like we had a huge breakfast. Like I don't want lunch. And it's like, you will sit and you will eat. I mean, just that whole thing. But that was the way that whole generation was raised is, it was in their mind, I think it was a sign of having, fortune and being able to provide it. But in my mind, looking back, it was like, oh my God, we are forced to eat so much food. Ugh. So anyway, I think it's interesting. I think there's so many environmental things that have changed. I mean, and where we are on the trajectory right now with the new administration, with Maha coming, I think from a finance spot to a health spot, I mean, we are in such revolutionary change. I think it's just an interesting time to be alive for all of us right now, given who we are, what we teach, what we believe in. I think we're going to see some massive changes in the next 4.
Oh,
yeah. Maybe talk about what you see a little bit on that, that's going to be changing on the financial aspects. I mean, we've certainly talked about Maha and what we hope to now see. And again, we're recording this the day that Bobby Kennedy was officially confirmed. So very exciting. A lot of the financial stuff has already started happening.
I think we're going to see a lot of money rerouted to proper causes. I think the accountability of every agency and just accountability across, which is going to then bleed into the narrative of the nation, which I love because paying attention to money and expenses has never, ever been anything. So when you have a country now run by entrepreneurs, I mean, let's just say it. I mean, we've got several billionaires up there, and it's not just Elon and Trump. There are several more that are there. And when you have billionaires that have made their own money and actually do not have to drop into a $400,000 salary as a president of the United States, and I don't think Elon's even getting paid, everybody thinks there's all these alternative agendas. We just want to live in a better place. And like the markets are going to thrive. I think cryptocurrency is going to have some high controls put around it. That's still extremely questionable. In fact, tomorrow, Phil, I have a call with 2 world economists coming into our big table in April, talking about that. Like, where's blockchain, Bitcoin, and some of that going to end up, and what kind of currency? I think the other question, it's not a question, it's a matter of if and how and when, because we've deployed so much of our gold to other countries. How do we get some of that back? How do we have more of a gold standard? Which I think that's going to long
I
walk.
I saw a headline today that somebody's talking about returning us to the gold standard. I
Mm-hmm.
never thought I'd see any official statement about that.
I
The
didn't either.
jury's still out on that one, folks. Bobby Kennedy's the new head of HHS. Let's celebrate on that for a while. Sorry. I
No,
couldn't believe when I read that.
I still think that I just think there's going to be more transparent. We're seeing all the transparency right now. I love that there is an online ticker of the amount of money that's going to be put back into our nation, which is then going to adjust. The biggest one I'm looking forward to, because I'm a big gas and oil investor, which I learned out of Chevron, not public stock. I own now private wells. I mean, I own wells since 1996. Every year I buy gas and oil wells across the country, mostly in Texas, a little North Dakota. The amount of becoming energy independent, that alone is going to change the economics of this nation in an amazing way. We're already seeing the tariffs. We're just seeing a lot that's going to be pro-American coming back to building. And entrepreneurs are going to thrive because you've got entrepreneurs running the country. I think the IRS, you already seen, they deployed IRS agents to the border because they're like, this, we don't know what to do with you for now, so go clean up the border for now. You don't even have an IRS. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I'm excited about the change, but that's part of being in a community, of staying in tune and staying in what's real, what's relevant versus, I call the internet the bathroom wall because anybody could write anything they want in any category. And whether it's true or not, there's no validity to it. I actually do say, and I will say this on a recorded line, I'm glad that Wikipedia is getting whacked huge because their misinformation in the health world, their misinformation in the wealth world, just opinion land of a bunch of stuff that makes absolutely no sense. And when people are confused in any of our categories, what do? Nothing. So we've got to clean up what's really the truth. How do you really become wealthy? How do you really become healthy? And just get rid of a lot of the noise and chaos. One of the things in your category I can't wait to see is the pharmaceutical ads getting the heck off TV. We're the only country in the world that allows pharma ads to be publicly shown.
I'd be okay with them advertising if we removed their blanket immunity.
Right. Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah, and I'd like the blanket immunity of financial planners. Get this, financial planners who work at the big firms, they go to school and just to get the basic license, not the bigger license. There's a lot of other licenses, but just the basics to sit across the Schwab or Fidelity or whatever desk and tell you that they can be your financial planner. They go to school for less time than your hairdresser. Disgusting's that.
Oh my God.
And again, they get blanket immunity because they have a license. Right. And I won't get licensed because I want to talk like this. I'm not going to be told by a broker dealer, you can only say these 4 words. And then everything else is, well, we don't do that. I can't do that. It's not in my scope, and just no. And versus I could just say, yes, everything's possible, but I don't want to have that license because I don't want to be in that. And I don't want this, I'm going to say false immunity. Or it's crazy that they can lose hundreds of millions of dollars of people's money by a stock market drop and then have no accountability to their loss. It's not okay. So the way
good work if you can get it.
Yeah, but the public markets are so protected in a way that the private entrepreneur is not. We're going to see that shift. We're going to see much more freedoms and entrepreneurs being able to play the role that we are all here to do, which, I mean, you're here to save lives. I'm here to serve lives. I mean, we're here doing the same missions, just different topics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you haven't talked about how you two met.
Oh, yeah. The fun story, right? I decided to start this practice. It's now five-ish years ago. And one of the people I recruited to help me, who many in the audience know, my COO, Brian Keith, Redbeard. And one of the first things Brian told me is you need some organization around your business. And, here's a software package to do this, Infusionsoft, or Keep as it's now known. And so after, we're doing things for a couple of months, and Brian said, oh, Keep is putting on this conference right out in Phoenix. You should come. And I said, why do I have to go to a software, convention? Like, what's going to happen there that's going to help? And he said, oh, you're going to meet some people and, just come and, it will be good. I promise. I meet him out there in Phoenix, and Loral happened to be one of the keynote addresses at that conference. And someone said, oh, you got to meet Loral. And I said, who's Loral? Because, again, I was didn't know anything about financial world back then. And so they said, don't worry, just you got to meet Loral, be at this booth and she's going to be coming through. We'll introduce you. And then anyone who's had the pleasure of meeting Loral, highly recommend it. But, Laurel sits down and says, "Who are you? What do you do?" And, there's like no,
How much money do you make?
yeah,
And
there's no small talk. It's who are you? What do you do? How much do you make? And I told her a little bit about what I was doing in this practice. And she was like, "Oh, that's amazing. You got to work with me." And basically at that, it was a couple of weeks before she was having one of her conferences. And she said, "You better be there in a few weeks and just talk to my people and we'll get it set up." And so that's how Laurel and I met.
Yeah, it's a great
And
story.
I don't regret showing up at that conference. It was one of those life opportunities, right? That sometimes you just got to go with your gut and follow your instinct and take a chance. And it can have amazing ramifications. And it has. It's been awesome that we finally got to have you here on the podcast.
Yeah.
You're going to be speaking, like you have a whole section, like you're going to be speaking at that convention now, like our big table. So he will be bringing his stay off my operating table in that part of the conversation, as well as the head of Maha is going to be here the next day. So you'll speak day one. He's speaking day two. So we put intentionally a lot of our vendors and our extra, it's either all health or all wealth. I mean, there's no other nuances. And for me, it's kind of fun to culminate both chapters of my life now, being able to be part of Maha and what's going to happen there. And I'm not sure. I mean, the one thing I'm between now and my daughter goes to college, she's going to Flagstaff and she's going to Northern Arizona.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, so she leaves me in August, and then I can really take a more active role and go to DC and do stuff. But in between, I'm really championing the Maha moms, because I know moms that really get serious and educated. They can all go up to their Congress, their Senate. I mean, through the states in a grassroots effort, we get this change fast. We get much faster. So I know I'm going to take that on. And if you guys want any of those Maha folks to come on your podcast, I'd love to support you, because I think people need to wake up. I mean, like when I heard some of just the food that is on shelves and they're nowhere else in the world, they're not even legal. Fruit Loops is illegal everywhere in the world but America. 9 carcinogens in it. Burn it. I wouldn't even put it in your trash. I mean, I could get it out of your household, get it away from your kids. God knows what else is going to be. I mean, things are just I think our shelves are going to change so drastically in the next year. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see. And again, it's great being able to partner and trying, health is wealth, and we got to make America healthy. We got to make America wealthy, and we got to give the power back to the people, right? That's what this is really all about, empowering people to improve their lives. So the first book, The Millionaire Maker, and we'll have that in the show notes. The most recent book, Make Your Kids Millionaires, and 4 other great ones in between there. Encourage everyone to check those out. And where should people connect with you, Laurel?
Ask Loral. AskLoral. Spell my name right. It's Loral, not the other way. Laurel. So go to askloral.com. You can ask a question, make a request. You can say, I want to talk to, one-on-one to one of your, strategists. And we can have we do a lot of one-on-one calls, because, people are very either shy, embarrassed, ashamed, or whatever they did to themselves. And I always say, I'm too old to judge you, what you did to yourself financially. We're just going to meet you where you are, take you where you want to go. I don't have time to hear about the backstory of divorces and whatever happened, that's fine. You're here now. Let's get a real good read on where you are, and then what do you want? And let's go find that. And then we just move. So look forward to it. I appreciate being on today.
That was cool.
Thank you.
All right, folks. She's Loral Langemeier. AskLoral.com. You got to go now if you're going to beat me to asking the question.
Good questions. I appreciate you guys.
This has been Stay Off My Operating Table. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.
Chances are you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't need to change your life and get healthier. So take action right now. Book a call with Dr. Ovadia's team. One small step in the right direction is all it takes to get started. Contact us at ifixhearts.com/talk. That's ifixhearts.com/talk.